Hey everyone, it's the Grumpy Meeple, and I'm back again with some more coverage of Marvel United. Um, and maybe we should even take the Marvel off and let's just talk today about the United system, if you want to call it that. Because what I want to chat about today is kind of where does this system go from here? Um, we've had two very successful Kickstarters for the original Marvel United and then for the X-Men version. The X-Men version being insanely successful, the most successful Kickstarter CMON has ever run. Um, but in that success, it's kind of a double-edged sword because man, they have blown through a lot of Marvel content, and in particular, I would say that they've blown through the vast majority of the kind of commonly known Marvel content, the kind of stuff that you could base a whole campaign around. Because you basically went through the Guardians of the Galaxy, the Avengers, Thor, and Spider-Man in the first campaign, along with some cosmic stuff like Adam Warlock and the Infinity Gauntlet, etc. And then in the Marvel United campaign, you've got every conceivable X team, as well as the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four would have been the franchise that I would think if there was to be like a third Marvel United, that would have been the one that they would kind of hang it off of. But because they put that expansion out, that seems unlikely. So where does it go from here? As I see it, there's a couple of options. So first of all, it could go nowhere. They could be done with the United system or with Marvel United. That seems very unlikely. You don't make, CMON especially, doesn't make $6 million on a Kickstarter and then just walk away. I mean, look at their successful franchises. Look at Zombicide. Look at the pile of crap you can get for Arcadia Quest. They tend to go back to the well quite often. So it seems unlikely that this is the last kind of United game that we get. But does that mean are we going to get more Marvel United? And if we do, what would it be kind of based on? And I'd really like for people to hop in the comments and let me know what you think. I think there's a couple of options. There are still some kind of vaguely recognizable teams out there, like, I don't know, the Eternals have a movie coming out. There's the Inhumans. Didn't see any representation from them. They could do some kind of, I don't know, they could do like a Marvel United alternate realities or something and then bring in stuff like the Age of Apocalypse or the heroic, what is it, I can't remember the name of the age that took place after Onslaught, when Franklin Richards kind of Heroes Reborn, I think it was called. Or they could do, there was the other series of Marvel comics back in the early 2000s. I can't remember exactly the name of it right now. The Ultimate series. They could pick up that and basically rerun both of these campaigns, which would be kind of funny. Or they could pick like they could put out like a big boss expansion and then just a bunch of stretch goal stuff, so they could do a Galactus box set and base the whole campaign on that one encounter, and then maybe fill in the cracks from the other two campaigns and in terms of characters that didn't make it in, or kind of work the cosmic angle a little bit more. So that's another option. They could just do more Marvel. They could also just divorce the United system from the franchise and move it to, and implement it with some other franchise. So what are some franchises that would kind of work? So obviously DC United would seem to make a ton of sense. I'm a Marvel guy myself, and I've never really had that much interest in DC outside of Batman. And so I don't know that I would be super pumped about that actually, but a lot of people would be. So that could be an option if they can get their hands on that license. We know they have access to some other big licenses that might lend themselves to this kind of game, at least as a one-off, like He-Man. The one that I would love to see is Dragon Ball. If they could do a Dragon Ball Z version, Dragon Ball United would be pretty unbelievable. And I haven't heard anything about this project in a while, but I know that at least at some point CMON had access to the Dragon Ball license and they were working on a miniatures game. And so I think DBZ, especially as a one-off, DBZ United could definitely work. And then the other big license, they got a hold of the Marvel license, and Disney owns Marvel and Star Wars. And I think Star Wars is another license that you could easily slap onto this United system. You put out a bunch of chibi Star Wars figures, and you are gonna have people flooding to the campaign. I would think so. Some options there in terms of just kind of reusing the system with a different license, basically. What I would really like to see them do is actually figure out a way to give us some additional benefit or use out of all the stuff that we've already bought, particularly the miniatures. You see this happening on Facebook with the kind of Marvel Quest project, where fans are taking the characters from Marvel United and building out basically Arcadia Quest characters in a rule set, I believe, for them to be used in that kind of, skirmish style game, miniatures game. I would love to see CMON come out and put out their own official Marvel Quest. And I think that would be, man, that would be really awesome. Because, to give people a use case for all of these miniatures. So first of all, if you announce that before this thing ships or shows up, especially if pledges are still available, you're going to add another, $1 million to this right off the bat. If people know that, because in Marvel United, the miniatures are not essential, necessarily. Whereas in something like a Marvel Quest or what about Marvel Zombies, guys? Marvel Zombies, where you integrate the figures from Marvel United into a Zombicide rule set. It's there. It's right there. The book already exists, and they clearly have some access to the license. I should honestly, CMON, if you steal that, you're gonna hear from me. Because damn, that's a really good idea. But the point is, I would love to see a way to leverage all this stuff beyond just the Marvel United game, because the miniatures are so cool. They're really the highlight of the franchise, as far as I'm concerned. And so the more you allow people to leverage them, you would sell more copies of Marvel United. You would sell a ton of copies of whatever system you come out with, Marvel Zombies. And you would add a lot of value for people who had all this stuff. Arcadia Quest has hundreds of heroes, and so does Zombicide. So you already have you put out the rule set, the system, the tiles, the tokens, and then a few key characters in like the core box, and then you re-release everything from this from these two campaigns basically, and say, hey, this stuff is all cross-compatible. CMON does this all the time, where they integrate their games, whether it be Project Elite integrating with Zombicide Invader, or Massive Darkness integrating with Black Plague, and so it wouldn't be a stretch. It would just kind of be planned this time instead of, usually it kind of just feels like, well, we've got two fantasy-based games, so there's really no reason why we couldn't integrate them. But it doesn't seem like it's kind of, pre-planned, whereas in this case, it would be. You would put out a game specifically to leverage all this stuff. So, so those are my thoughts on where we could possibly go from here with the Marvel United series. Hit me up in the comments and let me know what you think. Let me know if you think if Marvel Zombies sounds as much of a genius idea to you as it does to me, because I'm like, I just blew my own mind. So I'd be interested to hear if anybody else found that as interesting as I do. So hit me up in the comments, and I will talk to you later.